Hello there, everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. As you can see from the title of this video, we have a very, very interesting topic to discuss. But before we get into it, I'd like to remind you guys about something that exists that currently needs your help to grow and make a difference in the world. And that is my open source alt-tech video sharing site, Quarter. You can see Quarter right here on screen. And the best way I can describe Quarter is that it gives you the YouTube experience without any of the YouTube problems. So we got a clean user interface that looks very similar to YouTube, to the point where someone I know actually thought I was showing them YouTube when I showed them the site. You got an awesome amount of features and functionality that rivals YouTube, including full 1080p HD video uploads, live streaming, free restreaming, public playlists, comment moderation system that's easy to use. You can also earn Quarter Bucks, which is an in-site currency that allows you to promote your videos and channel to the site without us having to take any kind of editorial position when it comes to promoting channels. So that's a lot of good reasons why you should use Quarter, and on top of that, Quarter actually champions freedom of speech in practice as well as word, because I'm the one running it. This is my baby, and I believe in freedom of speech, so the site is the same way. You can say and do whatever you want as long as it doesn't violate laws, and there is no algorithmic censorship or throttling of your views or throttling of your subs. None of that going on. If you're watching this, you should definitely get on Quarter, and if you're a content creator, you should start uploading your videos to Quarter and start promoting your Quarter channel today. And now that we've talked about Quarter, let's talk about the real subject matter. Dr. Birx. I'm sure you remember Dr. Birx. She was part of the coronavirus task force that Trump was running back throughout 2020 when this whole lockdown mask madness first started. Well, it turns out that she, surprise, surprise, fudged the data when she presented it to Trump's coronavirus task force. Now, the article in question from the National Pulse, which you can see here on screen, is titled, "Sabotage? Dr. Birx admits to revising and hiding info from Trump's COVID team while altering CDC guidelines without approval." And the subtitle says, "The news raises questions about the endorsement of Birx by NH1 candidate Matt Mowers," or Mowers, however you say that. Article reads, Dr. Deborah Birx, who often appeared in front of COVID-19 task force briefings on behalf of the Trump administration, has admitted to doctoring data associated with the government's response, as well as quietly altering the Centers for Disease Control advice without authorization, according to her own book. Birx, who was brought into the White House task force following recommendations from Republican Party figures such as Matt Mowers, now running for Congress in New Hampshire's 1st Congressional District, writes in her underperforming book Silent Invasion, "I devised a workaround for the governor's reports I was then writing. Instead of including those recommendations in the common bulleted list, I'd include them in the pandemic summary and state-specific recommendations in the governor's reports, where they wouldn't be so obvious. These weekly reports wouldn't go out on Monday without administration approval. Week by week, Mark's office began to providing line-by-line edits. After the heavily edited documents were returned to me, I'd reinsert what they had objected to, but place it in those different locations. I'd also reorder and restructure the bullet points so that the most salient, the points the administration objected to most, no longer fell at the start of the bullet points. I shared these strategies with the 3 members of the data team also writing these reports. Our Saturday and Sunday report writing routine soon became write, submit, revise, hide, resubmit. Fortunately, this strategic sleight of hand worked. That they never seemed to catch this subterfuge left me to conclude that either they read the finished reports too quickly, or they neglected to do the word search that would have revealed the language to which they objected." So in other words, what Birx admits doing is that she and her crew, they basically took the governor's reports on what the coronavirus situation was in their state, and she would edit them and censor information in them by hiding it at the back, basically. And so all that problematic stuff that would have been inconvenient to her agenda Well, all that stuff got hidden, and I guess the Trump coronavirus task force team didn't read the entire document carefully before they ran with it. And that's the point she was bringing up there. When you skip down further into the article, you see Birx write the following in her book. This wasn't the only bit of subterfuge I had to engage in. Immediately after the Atlas-influenced revised CDC testing guidance went up in late August, I contacted Bob Redfield. He confirmed my suspicions. He had disagreed with the guidance, but had felt pressured by HHS and the White House to post it. Also, many on his staff in Atlanta were still comfortable prioritizing symptomatic individuals. Even at this late point, 8 months into the pandemic, many at both the White House and the CDC still refused to see that silent spread played a prominent role in viral spread, and that it started with social gatherings, especially among the younger adults, which we now know is a complete load of hooey. Young people don't really spread this around. We had to find a way around them. Recognizing the damage to public health the Scott Atlas-driven testing guidance could do, and was doing with testing rates dropping across the country, Bob and I agreed to quietly rewrite the guidance and post it to the CDC website. We would not seek approval. Because we were both quite busy, it might take a week or two, but we were committed to subverting the dangerous message that limiting testing was the right thing to do. So, in other words, the whole reason why Dr. Birx rewrote governor's reports before handing it over to the coronavirus task force in 2020, and the reason why she blatantly ignored CDC guidance and advice and basically rewrote it before giving it out to the world, the reason why she did it is because she didn't want people to limit testing. She wanted more and more people to be tested to see if they have the Wuhan flu. And so, what she did is she lied to the coronavirus task force. She edited governor's reports to make them say things they weren't really saying. And she also edited the CDC guidance/advice and then posted it to the CDC website. Basically, she was lying about all manner of things in order to get people to go get tested for coronavirus. And of course, this same strategy has been applied to the vaccines for the coronavirus that they've been peddling to us for over a year now. So how did the coronavirus task force respond to what Dr. Birx did? Well, the article actually gives us that explanation. Worse still, Birx claimed to offer little contrition over her outright insubordination when challenged on the matter by then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. On September 18, I was still on the road in Arizona again for a meeting with those conducting proactive testing at the University of Arizona when Mark Meadows' name and number flashed across my White House-issued smartphone. What the hell do you think you're doing? You rewrote and posted the CDC testing stuff. Yes, I did, but there's no buts here. You went over my head. I explained why I had done it. We'd already seen the drop in testing numbers resulting from Scott Atlas's dangerous guidelines. Those few pages we'd rewritten could change how states could test, and we'd prevent even more community spread going into the dangerous winter ahead. Mark Meadows took this in and then, biting off each of his words, said, "You went over everyone else on the task force's head. You went around the whole approval process. You do not make unilateral decisions. It's that simple, period. End of sentence. Understood? Don't ever do this again." Understood. I did what I needed to do. Don't do that again without talking with me first. So, as we can see, when confronted over her treachery and her lies and her making unilateral decisions by going over everyone's head and around the entire approval process, her response was, "Well, I did what I needed to do." She's a loose cannon. If I had been in Mark Meadows' shoes, at the moment she had said those words, I would have fired her on the spot, or whoever is in charge of firing her, I would have recommended that to them. But yeah, she needed to be fired as soon as those words left her mouth. She's willing to lie to the American people and go over the heads of the coronavirus task force and go around the entire approval process. She's willing to make all these unilateral decisions to accomplish her agenda of getting people to go get tested for COVID. I hate to say this, but the government has been doing this for many, many decades. And as evidence for this, I'd like to turn your attention to this article from the Children's Health Defense website, which is run by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as far as I am aware. The article from April 1st, 2020 is called 60 Minutes, Swine Flu 1976 Vaccine Warning. And there's an embedded version of the 60 Minutes piece on the swine flu from 1979 regarding the swine flu pandemic of 1976. And what you find when you watch the video and read the transcript is that a lot of the stuff that the government did then to get people to get these swine flu vaccines is the same stuff they're doing now to get people to get tested for COVID and to get COVID vaccines and to get booster shots. They're doing all of the same things, all of the same lies, all of the same censoring of information that we really would like to know. Our government, through various people, has been doing this for decades, and that is why, as time has gone on, trust in the government, trust in the media that aligns with the government and has become the government mouthpiece, trust in the government has been declining rapidly for decades. I mean, even the far left people that use the government to try and force their morality on everyone else on the planet and in the country, even they don't like the government because they're such horrible liars who shill out for their partners and their friends in big pharma and the media, the corporate media and the government and whatnot. Even though the far left uses the government to get their agenda accomplished, they don't like them either. Nobody likes the government because no matter who we elect, it seems, they're just a bunch of lying turds who will lie to us about anything and everything in order to get us to do what they want. They lied to everyone in 1976 about the swine flu in order to get people to get the swine flu vaccines. They lied to us in 2020 about the necessity of getting COVID tests by lying about all the COVID data in order to get us to go get tested. They've been lying to us about the COVID vaccines in order to try and get us to take the COVID vaccines. The government has been in the business of lying to us in whatever fashion they need to in order to get us to do something they want us to do. And that is why you can't trust your government, especially when it comes to health issues like this. And that is why I will never trust anything they ever have to say again regarding viruses and vaccines and whatnot. You just can't trust them anymore. And if something bad does happen to the general population because we failed to trust what they were telling us, well, that's on them. They lied to us for so long that they've forced us to not trust anything they say. And so if something bad does happen to us because the government tried to warn us about something virus-wise and we end up all dying in mass numbers because of it, because we didn't trust the government, it's the government's fault.